Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm having a conversation with Dr. Gabor Lukacs. He is the president and founder of Air Passenger Rights here in Canada. Gabor, I want to talk a little bit about some of some practical advice that you offer. I did skim through your website, and your site offers some practical guides for baggage, flight delays, cancellations, denial of boarding, etc. What can you tell us about some of the advice that you offer in those segments?
The most important suggestion I have for passengers is to always document what they are experiencing. Don't expect that the airline will have all their notes, that they are going to even remember what happened, or that they are going to be truthful. Because of where we are with air travel today, I would recommend passengers to travel with the mindset that they are on a mission to gather evidence. So if you show up at the airport and you see a long lineup and you are concerned that you may not be able to check in on time, take a photograph. Right. Take a photograph of the clock, maybe buy a coffee which has a receipt with a date and a time showing at what time you were at the airport. Remember one case where the airline was actually outright denying that the passenger was on a flight on which the passenger actually boarded, and it was a receipt from the onboard coffee that the passenger purchased that helped the passenger prove that he actually was on that flight.
Right.
So documenting also what announcements are being made. Take audio recordings, take video recordings, take photographs of anything that does not look perfectly normal, anything that may later on be needed. Chances are your trip will go fine and you are just going to discard those. But there is a 1%, 5% chance, you name it, that you may need these bits of evidence. And then they may actually be all the difference between winning and losing a case against an airline.
That's really important advice for people, because sometimes when something is not according to plan, you become a little bit disoriented. Most of us are not familiar with being at airports on a frequent basis. So your point is kind of keep your wits about you. I'm sure the same is true lost baggage situations and other things that can occur frequently.
Always. It applies to everything. And it applies even when you phone an airline about an issue that arises while you're still at home. Recorded compensation yourself. The airline is recording it for their own protection. They will not be handing it over to you to protect yourself as a passenger. So it's perfectly legal to record your call with an airline. You don't need their permission. Just record it, keep it. If you don't need it, great. If you need it, you have it.
And you've got some real life experiences that this has been helpful for people?
Oh yeah, it has. I even had a personal experience when I went to the airport and I was insisting that the airline rebook me as required by the law. They refused. They even tried to call the police on me. And then in court, they tried to argue that I made a scene at the airport. I pulled out the recording, and then the judge found that the airline employees were not actually remembering things correctly.
I think that, again, is excellent advice, and I'm glad that you've explained this on our program. Do you think that we are entering an age where there are real consequences for poor airline practices and results? Do you feel like you're making progress on this?
I don't know. I'm concerned about the breakdown of the rule of law, and not just in passenger rights. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned that we are entering more an age where the notion of the law says something, the reaction is, but shrug, who cares about the law? If a person is in a position of power, if there's no immediate recourse. So would I like to see more enforcement, more upholding the rule of law? Absolutely, yes. I do think that passengers have the ability to hold airlines accountable, because in spite of the government's lack of willingness to enforce passengers' rights, small claims court adjudicators are willing to do what the law says. They are lawyers who are not in any way beholden to the airlines. They sometimes may be wrong. They sometimes may disagree with the passenger, and sometimes may tell the passenger that the passenger is being unreasonable, which is also needed. But they are impartial. They don't have any kind of ongoing relationship with the airlines. So small claims court is a place where passengers can hold airlines accountable. And hopefully, if we do it for long enough, airlines will come to realize that it is better to have the government police those rules across all airlines, because it's going to be profitable for everybody that way, which is how the law should work. How far we are from that, I would say 5 to 10 years, please. But it also depends on where our economy goes, because in the current situation, one of the challenges is that many people may rightly say, well, passenger rights is not the most important issue. It would be nice to turn it into an election issue in a country the size of Canada. But how realistic it is, I would say it's not quite likely to happen.
Not quite there yet. Yeah.
The disaster.